You're listening to Speaking Stellar Girl with Teri and Dr, an interview series that inspires women to live their most stellar life. Teri is the co-founder of the Stellar Girl movement, and she is sitting down with women all over the world to hear about the key moments in their lives and how they live boldly, compassionately, and ultimately became a stellar girl.
Welcome to Speaking Stellar Girl. I'm your host, Teri and and I'm thrilled today to have Dr. Lynn Wagner joining me. Dr. Wagner is a physician and the owner of Lynn K. Wagner Integrative Medicine. She believes that everyone has the right to optimum joy and vitality in their life. And without healthy physical body, mind, spirit connection, we become blocked from reaching that full potential. I'm so looking forward to hearing about your mission to help your patients heal using a combination of healthy lifestyle education, disease prevention, and optimization of your health using both traditional and alternative therapies. Thank you so much for joining me and all of us today, Dr. Wagner.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off with asking you about your own experience and how it led you to create this clinic and start your practice. You've had your own experience, your own come to Jesus moment, and let's hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I think anyone who goes through these major transformations experiences something that changes you. It's like an aha moment. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was depression. When I gave birth to my first daughter, after I delivered her, we moved cross country to the Los Angeles area to start my residency. So I was going to be an emergency medicine resident. And I developed postpartum depression. She was like 8 weeks old and I had to go to work, and I was working, just back then we didn't have the work hour restrictions. So I was gone all the time. So I developed postpartum depression and I literally almost quit residency. I told my husband at the time, I'm quitting. He's like, you cannot quit. You put all this work in, by that time I've already gone through medical school. And so he helped me reach out to my program director at the time. The program director hooked me up with a psychiatrist. They put me on antidepressants, and that's what got me through residency. So 3 years went by. I kept myself on medication the whole time and I made it, which thank God I did. Right. So yes. I do believe in Western medicine. After residency, we moved back to the Green Bay area. So I'd been gone from the area for about 10 years. We moved back to kind of settle down and grow our family here. And I kept trying to go off of the medication because I thought, I don't really think I have a chemical imbalance. I'm pretty happy. I've got a great life. And every time I would go off of it, I would get depressed again, even though I wasn't postpartum. I had a stable life. I wasn't working crazy hours. And so I just thought, what, I guess I just have this problem. I have this disease. I will be on drugs for the rest of my life. But serendipity led me to several different experiences where I started to work with an energy healer. Mm-hmm. I started to work with on my nutrition, on my fitness, on my mindfulness. So lots of different little things happened, like little angels in my life. And it was almost like I had this haze rubbed from my eyes. When I started doing those things, I was very entrenched in the Western medical system. And I even thought chiropractors were weird at that point in my life. Like everything was very traditional. I'm like, you take a drug, you take an antibiotic, but I was very indoctrinated in the system.
There are so many ways to heal your body.
So many ways. And I didn't, I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like we did not have a lot of exposure to a lot of these different alternative healing modalities. So I started exploring them, and it was like door after door after door kept opening for me, both with my profession and with my physical health, and most importantly with my mental health, to the point where I was able to get off of the medication and no longer be depressed. So, I've been off now for 9+ years, and have not had another bout of clinical depression since then. We all have mood changes, right? You have highs and lows, but I've never had clinical depression again.
Well, that's amazing. And so that's what led you to open up your clinic.
It is. And so it was, it was during that experience that I started exploring these different things. And I found the Integrative Medicine Fellowship in Arizona. So, a guy who I had listened to his audiobooks and things like that is Dr. Andrew Weil. He's kind of like an old school alternative provider. And so I knew about him, and I saw that he actually had a fellowship that trained medical doctors in Arizona to do this practice called integrative medicine, which is a practice that doesn't deny Western medicine, but it incorporates alternative medicine into it or with it. So you get kind of like the best of both worlds. So I tell my patients, I'm like, I'm a bridge between the worlds. So I can still, I still put people on drugs. I still use Western modalities all the time. And that's my base. That's where I was born in medicine, basically.
Mhm.
But then we use adjunctive alternative therapies, supplements, nutrition, lifestyle, all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome. So I'm basically trying to mimic what I've done for myself with my patients.
And that's exactly how, a successful business and a successful brand starts. You're actually in the process of rebranding your clinic. So, and why the change?
So basically it's kind of simple. So I'm 46 years old and I've never done any type of aesthetic things to myself, but as you know, I'm interested in fashion. I'm interested in taking care of myself from the outside. I don't always do a great job of it, but I believe that taking care of yourself from the inside out is super important, most important. So diet and exercise and sleep and all those things. But as women, we also like to take care of ourselves from the outside.
Yeah.
And beauty is important. And so I really saw that I'm like, okay, maybe I want to start doing a little bit of Botox. Maybe I want to start getting facials and exfoliate my face a little bit. And I just decided to bring it into my own practice because why wouldn't I, if I can do it and I have the credentials, and then I can offer it to my patients as well. So I'm kind of just rounding out the experience of integrative medicine to basically incorporate kind of a beauty arm to it.
I love that, because if you don't feel good inside, you can't exude that shine, you can't glow, you can't, and everyone has to be their own beautiful. Like we talk always at Stellar Girl, we say, what looks good on you might not look good on me. What looks good on me might not look good on the next door person. Like it's all about how you feel and what makes you shine bright yourself. Right. And I always dress for my mood and destination. So what kind of mood I'm in, where am I going, footwear first, because we live in an area where it's all about the weather. And if you don't, I always start with everyone's like, what's your best fashion advice? I'm like, well, start with your shoes. Cause it's about where you're going. Where do you have to stand? Do you have to walk anywhere today? And so I build my outfit from the down up. So yeah, it's a good way of looking at where you're going to go, because if you're staying at home all day, but you still want to you want to feel good about yourself, even if you're working from home.
And that's it. Like it's the feeling, I did a video recently on my social media about beauty. And I said, when you look at a rock star or look at Lady Gaga, right? Like look at someone or Prince when they're on stage and they are just beaming, right?
Yes.
Is it because of their outfit? No.
Their outfit, their confidence.
It's because their confidence. It's because of their internal beauty and authenticity.
And I listened to your doc talks because you actually, I will quote you, because you said, shining your rock star within.
Yes.
Because I love so everyone will tag you in all of this below, but that is one thing that Dr. Wagner does is she has doc thoughts, and she does a couple minute of an IGT video, and she just kind of shares her thoughts for the day and sort of go back to them. Anyway, I listen to them all.
I love those. I do those based off of my personal experiences. So my patients give me ideas all the time. I just had one yesterday and I'm like, hey, I'm going to put that on my doc's thoughts. She's like, don't say my name. I'm like, no, don't worry. I can't.
No, we still have the client professional confidentiality. Yes. And you also have a podcast. So how's that going?
It's excellent. I mean, so the way we met was through my podcast co-host, James. And James was talking about style and beauty, and I think I was sharing this with you before we started recording. I've always struggled with style because I'm very cerebral. I'm very and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm kind of intellectual. So I'm in my head thinking all the time, or I'm in a book. That's just been my whole life.
We always toot your own horn, always promote with purpose. I mean,
I
always,
that's how you become a doctor, right?
You have to be, you cannot.
I'm also a wife and a mom, and I'm a woman in my 40s. And so I do appreciate feeling beautiful, but I've always struggled with style. And I've always felt, and I think people can relate to this, where I don't want to be too focused on my looks, because I don't want to have an ego, and I don't want to take away from beauty that's natural, because I'm obviously a very natural type person. So I've struggled a lot. I met James. He was working in Door County, and he was actually working at a restaurant, and my husband and I would sit with him all the time and became good friends. And I finally said to him one day, hey, how are you so stylish? Because you know him, he just always just carries himself just like you do. I mean, you guys are similar, he just carries himself in a really nice way, and he looks great. And so he started helping me with my personal style, and our friendship evolved. He's very dynamic. He's an artist. So that's kind of how we evolved. And it's been nice because he's from a totally different world than me. So I bring my my personality, and then he brings his creative, artistic, masculine personality.
Mhm.
And then we converse just like we do when we're not recording. So it's
Yeah.
been really, really fun.
It has been. I've listened to a few. They're fun. I love you had actually an excellent one about, I can't quite remember the quote, but it is about fear in the coffin.
Yes.
That quote was amazing.
I know. I'm trying to remember what the quote was exactly, but it was basically like fear. Oh yeah. Fear is your coffin. So if you're living in a state of fear, you're just building your own coffin.
If your body's your coffin, it just gets stuck, and how we go from there. Yeah. He's a gem. He's definitely,
And that we don't record as often as we'd like to, because we live in different cities. So we're working on that, but we're going to, just next week, we're going to be recording, I think 3 episodes. So, and we're going to start putting it on YouTube. And I mean, I love doing that stuff. I mean, I love talking with you here, just totally lights me up.
It does. We get an inspiration from each other. We've always found it from different things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So you're also an incredible writer. Everyone can find your blogs on your website, which is lynnkwagner.com. You write about a whole plethora of different topics, from your gut health, there's so many, from healing from within, from using all of your different practices. So we'll definitely have to link all of that for sure. What's your favorite part of your day? What part of your day brings you joy?
For sure. I love my whole day. Like, I love life. I like taking a water hose in the face. Like, I cannot get enough of it until I crash at night, and then I'm like out. My kids make fun of me. But if I had to pick one time, oh gosh, that's hard. Like, I'm going to give you 2, because I love family meal times, because I think we do a really good job in our family of sitting at our table and eating together. My kids would say, Mom, you don't realize no one does this. Like, no one sits around the table and eats meals like this. But I love food. I'm a foodie. I like cooking. So I spend, a good amount of time in the evening cooking, and then we all sit down, even if it's for just a half hour, eating. So the amount of conversation and things you learn about the day and all that stuff is absolutely wonderful. But then the second part is definitely my morning ritual, which I've probably just not perfected, but I've really started honing in on it in the last 4 or 5 years. When I was an ER doctor and my schedule was all wacky, you're working nights and weekends. And so I did not have any kind of normal rhythm, but now it's like, I get up, between 5 and 5:30. I have my lemon water, my coffee, I meditate, I do some spiritual, like praying or reading the Bible, maybe a little bit of journaling if I'm inspired. And that takes overall probably about, 20 to 30 minutes, but
it's your time. It's your self-care.
Yes.
And I always say that that's your medicine. That's probably what helped you on your healing journey, as well, because now you have to love yourself, or do you love others? Well, obviously, as moms and partners, we love others, but if we don't have that happiness from within, we have nothing to give. I always say, my kids don't need a perfect mom. They need a happy mom.
For sure. And I think, that took so long for me to figure out. I think it's so hard for women, because we're so like, oh, I have to make it to every basketball game. I have to make sure I'm at every meeting at school, and like picking them up, dropping them off, making their lunch. And if you're a professional woman, or even if you're not, if you don't even work at all, like, the demands are really, really high, and the expectations, but they're not expectations from our kids. They're expectations from our society.
Yeah, but how do we fix that?
I mean, I don't know for sure. I definitely haven't perfected it, but for me, it's just being like really selfish and setting boundaries, so I don't have a ton of friends, I don't, because I don't have time for a lot of friends. The friends that I do have know that about me. So they know, like, hey, Lynn's in her zone where she's worked a lot of hours, or she's like totally checking out for a bit, and they understand that, you know what I mean? And my kids know that too. They're like, I'm just like, hey guys, I need a nap, or, I can't, like, I have a daughter who's 15, so she wants to go out a lot and be with her friends. But sometimes I'm like, hey, hon, I can't go pick you up at 10:30 because I have this thing in the morning, and I'm sorry, you're missing the skating party with your friends, and it doesn't happen that often, but you just have to set boundaries.
You do.
It all comes with guilt, but
but guilt's a bad thing. And so we have to change that narrative as well, and say, okay, it's not necessarily, because if you're guilty of something, that means you've done something really bad. Right. So everyone talks about mom guilt, or, the fact that but it's about obviously the quality of time we spend with the kids, not always the quantity. And for me, mine is movement. Like I love movement. If I don't move my body, like even if it's a half an hour, even if it's, or I never more than an hour because of the time, but even throughout the day, like so I've been on my computer, or, I mean, you're on your feet all day long with your work. But if I'm sitting in my computer all day, or, I'm like, I got to go, okay, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for 2 hours. I haven't moved. I haven't had water. I go, okay, I set a timer for 10 minutes. I'll go outside, lap the house, go up and down the stairs if it's freezing.
That's wonderful.
Jug a bunch of water, because you just gotta, and your body is meant to move.
I totally agree.
And we all just sit. We sit, watch TV at night. We sit like all the time. We sit with the kids instead of like, whatever happened to like running outside and playing kick. I mean, that was the only takeaway from 2020, was those 3 months where we were at home. Most of us, in Wisconsin, we were all at home, and every night we'd like go play kickball. We'd go we'd like go on these huge walks with the dog. We'd take the bikes, we would do, and all of this movement we did together, and it brought us so much closer together.
I 100% agree.
And
I do the same thing. I'm not normal if I don't move every day.
No. And
my job is actually pretty sedentary, because I'm either on my computer or I'm with patients sitting
talking.
Yeah. So I'm super sedentary with my job. So I have to be super intentional about getting the movement in.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, as we get older, I mean, our bodies break down and they work so much differently, as you talk about in your practice and in your blogs and in your writing. And if we don't take care of that internal being, then what are we going to admit to the world? And it's, our stellarness is gone, right?
I totally agree. Yes.
No one's going to take away your Lynness. No way. No. Heck no. No one's going to take that shining bright light away. You've gone through it all. Now you can help others. And that's incredible. And I always say, if I can inspire or elevate one person every single day, whether it's my kids, whether it's my girlfriends, or whether it's myself.
And it's funny that you say that, because I actually texted my friend, one of my besties this morning, because I kept thinking about, I have a business mentor out of state, and I kept thinking about him. And so I finally just called him this morning to be like, hey, just so you know, I think these things are awesome about you. Thank you. I just needed to share that with you, period. And it was like a 30-second phone call.
Yeah.
And I did it because of my friend. She's like, every day I need to make sure I uplifted someone. And that's not something that's baked into my routine, but I think it's really, really important. Like, how can you elevate someone else? And you obviously do a wonderful job with that with your brand.
Well, thank you. We celebrate women. We have to elevate and support and champion each other. And there's always room for everyone to grow and to build in their own brand, in their own way. And, there's no, I don't want to compete with anybody. There's room for everybody to succeed,
for sure.
And for everybody to win, Okay. So your new brand, the Wagner Health.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that, other than the fact that I want to come back to that, because you just went to a conference recently in Florida where it was more of an aesthetics conference, where it was. Yes. And so I'm coming back to that because of one of your talks, doc talks, thoughts that you shared recently, was that people feel more beautiful when they think about beauty in a different way. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm coming back to that is because people always say, well, I can't wear that. I can't do that. I can't put that on like that. I can't rock those glasses. Well, no, because you can't. So when you talk about feeling beautiful in beauty in a different way, I'd love to ask you, like, could you elaborate more on that? Because that's something that I get DM'd about and emailed about all the time.
And so I think from my standpoint, I feel that people can't feel truly beautiful until they feel beautiful on the inside. And it doesn't mean that, like, we're all a work in progress, and we will be till the day we die, right? So we all have our personal struggles. I do every day. But the more we can feel authentic, that we're not holding back, that our body is fit. So, like you said, you're moving, you're eating pretty clean food. You're not overdoing toxic things like alcohol or tobacco or things like that. Mm-hmm. The more you can, and you're being mindful and you're getting good sleep, like the more you can do those things, the easier it is for you to feel confident and beautiful. So I think that's like the base of it, right? We all know people who try really, really hard to look beautiful from the outside in, but you can just see them struggling internally. We all know people like that. And I think with TikTok, I don't know how much you do TikTok, but with the kids on Snapchat and TikTok, and it's all these faces and Zoom meetings, people are getting so wrapped up in the look and the perfect brows. And at this conference I went to, it was all about the most beautiful face and the proportions of the most beautiful face, which that's not what I think is what beauty is. You know what I'm saying? I think it's about being individual, being different, shining your light forward. And then if you want to spice it up, and if you want to erase some of your wrinkles or get rid of some of the dry skin on your face, great. No judgment, right? No. But I think that there's a way you can do it in a very balanced and almost natural kind of way. So that's really my goal with the new branding.
So what type of services do you actually offer at your clinic?
So currently most of my work is consultation. And so I work with patients individually. And when I see them, it's really super simple. So I see a frowny face and I see a smiley face. And my goal is to get them from the frown face to the smiley face. Okay. It's seriously what it is. And then there's a trajectory in between. And that trajectory is different for every person, because for some people, it's literally just teaching them how to eat healthy and exercise and do all the basic tenets of a healthy lifestyle. For some people, it's managing a disease. So they might have an autoimmune disease or a hormone imbalance or a gut problem. So it's actually like medically managing a disease process to remove that, because that's a block to them getting to the smiley face. It's so simple. And then for some, it's like, hey, this person actually is very emotionally blocked. They have trauma. Like they're just like stuck in their trauma. So how do we get them out of that? So it might be referrals to other providers, I call my tribe of healers. So I have a bunch of healers that we all collaborate together. And that's what I do. And so, a lot of time is spent with consultation. I prescribe prescription medications if needed. I prescribe hormone therapies. I prescribe supplements. I'll do like gut cleanses to help people kind of help their microbiome get healthier. I refer out to other providers. And then some patients I manage kind of ongoing if they have a lot of issues. But I always tell people, like, my goal isn't to actually get you coming back for more and more. Like, I want you to heal, and I want you to be strong, and I want you to have the reins for your health in your own hand. And then you come back to me when you need me.
You give them the tools to do that.
That's what I try to do. And so that's like the main core of my business. But then, I have some adjunctive services. Like we do something called hormone pellets. So when people lose their hormones as they get older, you can get little pellets inserted that are kind of like the old Norplants used to be for birth control.
Okay.
But it's inserted into the butt tissue. And so we do those. And then we're bringing in some of the aesthetic services, like this hydrofacial machine and Botox and skincare line. We're trying to choose which one we're going to bring in, but we just do that kind of stuff as well. I call it kind of like buffing from the outside a little bit.
I love that.
And because I'm a woman, I love that stuff. So it's kind of fun.
I know. Absolutely. I love these amazing stories, and I love hearing how you got there and what brought you to this happiness. And it's just awesome to talk about someone who says, like, I like all parts of my day. What are you talking about? I love life.
Good.
That was like the best answer I've ever. I think I've done 55 episodes, and that was an amazing answer.
Well, and in full disclosure, that's not every day. I mean, there's days where I'm just like, yuck.
Yeah.
So that is not every day. You're getting me on a good day.
It's a good day. I live on a 90-10 rule. So I always talk about, okay, so if there's, I either do it by hours or I'll either do it by days. So if I have, one bad hour in that day or one unsuccessful hour in that day, I had 9 other amazing hours.
I love that.
Or I live with my family. Okay. We've had one day with the family that was just complete chaos, a total show. And you're like, what the heck? If I have one more plate that falls, I don't know what's going to happen with all this glass. Right. But then you have 9 amazing days. So if you live on a 90-10 rule, because everyone's like, oh, balance 50-50. I'm like, oh, no. My life has to be stellar. It has to, and that's a word that's so underused. That's why we called our brand Stellar, because I feel like, there's like girl gangs and girl squads, and all of those are outstanding names, but I'm like, stellar, like we forget, and girls don't say that they're stellar. They don't talk about, you were saying, I don't want to like toot my own horn. I'm like, you go right ahead and do that.
Totally.
Because we were accustomed to just going, I'm I believe obviously we're all humble. We all lead with our hearts and kindness first, always. But what about talking about all these things, the rock star things you did in life or that day?
Totally.
And guys do it all the time, doctor. Right. Like they say, oh, I threw a stellar pass. And I'm talking like, oh, sorry, I need to go into my guy tone. But I mean, like they talk about all these amazing things that they do. And why don't we?
Well, and I totally agree with you. And I think that's why I was telling you, I've struggled with fashion and style because I didn't feel worthy of being that person. I didn't feel worthy of standing out and being authentic and maybe different. You know what I mean? Because I thought maybe that was wrong. And I think that's very, very much baked into a woman's psyche.
Well, we don't, no conformity here.
No.
Heck no.
Right.
We need to do a live. We need to have other women on this Zoom and on our
fun
and take questions because and help, everyone find themselves and to glow from within and get up and glow instead of just sort of running with your day.
Right. I mean, yeah. And I mean, do you know how many women suffer from depression?
More than we know.
So many. And so many of them that I see, it's literally just this like loss of purpose. It's like this, I call it Groundhog Day. Like they're living this life that's Groundhog Day. And it just becomes this repetitive pattern that they can't break out of until they've just lost themselves. Mm-hmm. And, it doesn't mean you have to like leave your husband or get rid of your kids or change your career. None of that, you don't have to do all that stuff, but it's just realizing like, hey, maybe the reason I'm feeling this way and I'm stuck is just because I'm not being a stellar girl. And you didn't tell me to say that, but, right.
But it's your own best version of yourself. And that's cliche. It's been said so many times, be the best version of you. But that is so true. I don't know.
So true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Oh my gosh, so much fun. We are going to go have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or go do some movement together.
Definitely.
Or maybe go shopping.
All the above.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so nice to chat with you today. Thank you again for sharing your journey and your story. And we will definitely plug you with purposeful promotion throughout this. Yes, I'm so excited to get to know you better. We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, sounds good.
You're listening to Speaking Stellar Girl with Teri Tkachuk, an interview series that inspires women to live their most stellar life. Teri is the co-founder of the Stellar Girl movement, and she is sitting down with women all over the world to hear about the key moments in their lives and how they lived boldly, compassionately, and ultimately became a stellar girl.